Good morning, Mike. The Warriors have the number 2 pick. That's where I want to start. They're off a 15-50 season. Steph will be healthy. Clay hasn't played since Game 6 of the 2019 Finals. You get those 2 guys and add somebody. So what would be the best fit for the Warriors, knowing that soon enough they will be back and looking totally healthy?
Well, the best fit is to trade the pick, honestly. I don't think any of these top 3 prospects are going to be able to be the savior for the Warriors or take them back to title contention. Just to ask any rookie to do that, I think is a lot, especially a guy like James Wiseman, who by the time he plays his first NBA game, it's going to have been an entire year since he's even played a competitive basketball game. So he's the name that you hear the most tied to the Warriors just because, they have a little bit of a hole up front. He would bring them some athleticism, a rim runner, a guy who can be a lob catcher, a defensive anchor for them. But I would really expect them to canvass the market still up until, they're on the clock tonight and just see what they can get, whether it's moving back and getting a more NBA-ready guy who's a little bit cheaper in an additional asset, or just trying to move out altogether. But I think that they honestly need to take a best player available approach here and look at, a guy like LaMelo Ball, even though it's not the most natural fit right now. We've heard Bob Myers say it. They're not drafting just for right now. They're drafting for the future. And they can get a cheap center in free agency. They've done that year after year. We've seen it with guys like JaVale McGee, DeMarcus Cousins. They've gotten good minutes out of Kevon Looney. And so there are some good options in this free agent class when you look at Robin Lopez, Marc Gasol, Nerlens Noel. So I think they can find a serviceable center. But the name you do hear the most is James Wiseman.
Mike, last night on the pre-draft show, when you and I were talking, I said that I thought it was imperative. The reason why they did a sign and trade for the Warriors with D'Angelo Russell was to have another max contract on the book so they can use for an opportunistic time, just like right now. You have the second pick in the draft. You have Andrew Wiggins that can be used as package collateral in a trade. Who gives you more value for a better trade for the Warriors? LaMelo Ball or James Wiseman?
I think LaMelo Ball, honestly. And James Wiseman, like I said, he's intriguing, okay, long term. I think he's got a chance to be really, really good. But it's hard to find a 6'7", 6'8" point guard who can make every pass like LaMelo can, who has that level of creativity, that star power. Sure, there are the questions about all the stops that he's been at, whether it's Lithuania, Spire Academy, out in Australia. I've been there to see him play at pretty much every stop. And there's always been that circus around him, right? But I just think that his upside is so much higher. And like I said, you can find centers in today's game. So if you think James Wiseman is the next Anthony Davis, okay, then I get it. Like, if that's your evaluation of James Wiseman, take him. He's going to be an alien just like AD, stepping out, shooting threes, handling the ball. But I just don't really see it that way. So I think that LaMelo has a little bit of a higher trade value, especially when you look at a team like New York. You look at a team like Detroit later on in this top 10. Those are teams that really need a point guard of the future, and he could be exactly that.
Mike Schmitz giving us Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. We're talking about LaMelo Ball, but a guy that I'm not hearing about a lot, Mike, is from Europe and Killian Hayes. There's no conversation really swirling around him. Is that because we don't know much about him here?
He's a guy we've been evaluating since he was probably 15, 16 years old. He was at the Jordan Brand International game in New York. His dad played at Penn State. He actually was born in Florida. So scouts are very well versed with him. He's become kind of an internet darling. I don't know if NBA teams are as high on him as the internet is, but one of the youngest players in the draft, 19 years old, 6'5", lefty. He's got a great body. He's really, really good in pick and roll, still evolving as a shooter, but he had a great season in Germany this past year for a club named They play in the Euro Cup and the German First Division. And so I think he's one of those guys who has kind of a wide range in this draft. He could go as high as 7, and he could go as low as maybe 14 or 15. But I think he's going to need a little bit of time. Like, I would love for him to go somewhere like the Suns where he could sit behind a Chris Paul, and like Goran Dragic did with Steve Nash. So long term, he's a really intriguing prospect.
How come we're not seeing a lot of players talked about from the big programs, the Dukes, the Kentuckys this year? It's kind of like outside of maybe a Cassius Stanley from Duke that is probably, and you guys, both Jay and you could tell me, is probably the most athletic guy in this entire draft, probably the most athletic guy to come in the NBA since Vince Carter.
Yeah, athletically, he's a joke. Just head at the rim type of athlete. You know, Kentucky has Tyrese Maxey in terms of big programs. I think that's a name to look at. You know, this is a guy who's, I think, going to be better in the NBA than he was in college. I think similar to Tyler Hero, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker, guys who were a little bit more one-dimensional in college and then have really expanded their game in the NBA. I think we'll see something similar with Tyrese Maxey. Shoots it with range, is really, really energetic. And then Vernon Carey, you know, the big out of Duke, he's kind of a perplexing prospect because he's one of the most productive bigs we've seen at that age in ACC history, but the game is kind of trending away from guys like that. And I think with the struggles of a Jahlil Okafor, teams are trying to figure out, is a guy who's more interior-based, who kind of struggles defensively, how does he fit in today's game? So this year, not as many prospects with those top programs, but next year, it's loaded. Like, next year's draft is ridiculous.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.